Private rental properties have almost doubled in the past few years, which means for landlords it's important to hold a well-established position in the letting industry. Now, to do this, you need to be fully prepared to meet the demands of the changing market, and knowledge is key. So, what should you be expected to know as a professional landlord? I have put together 5 top tips at being ahead of the curve and perfecting your rental portfolio. Number 1 is be aware of legislative changes. According to findings, 1 in 12 landlords are unaware of legislative changes that have occurred across the letting industry in recent years. Now, legislative changes are considered the main concern from landlords, and although a lot of these changes can be confusing, there are some things that every landlord should know. Now, with so many legal updates happening in recent years, specifically the ban on tenant fees and the new tenancy agreements, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. However, if you do your research and you know your rights and responsibilities as a professional landlord, it should be straightforward. Keep an eye on key legislative changes through organisations such as the Scottish Association of Landlords and Landlord Accreditation Scotland, who are on hand to offer learning and support through your development as landlords at all stages, with handy guides and checklists for you to do your training. Number 2 is recruit the best letting agent. Your rental property is more than likely to be one of the single most valuable assets you own. It's therefore important that you completely trust your letting agent and the service they provide, especially when it comes to referencing your tenants. Everything starts with a tenant reference, and to ensure you have the best tenant possible, it is important to check with your letting agent that they are using a high quality tenant referencing provider. In the letting industry, we are seeing more and more cheap referencing providers adopting a DIY service to letting agents, which can easily result in untrustworthy tenants being placed in your property. And inevitably, this will create a headache for you in the long run. Cheap, low-quality referencing means that vital information on the tenant's background and financial history could be missed without a thorough search. Above all, make sure you're fully in the know about the fees you'll be charged by your letting agent, and establish a good line of communication from the beginning to ensure that you keep up to date with everything related to your tenant or your property. Number 3 is know your responsibilities and obligations. Whether you're an experienced landlord or just starting to build your property portfolio, it's vital that you know your responsibilities, your duties, and your obligations as a landlord. Provide a start of tenancy information pack with items such as an energy performance certificate, your gas safety certificate, and information on your deposit scheme. You must protect your tenant's deposit by having a deposit registered with a government approved deposit protection scheme. You are responsible for ensuring that the equipment for supplying water, gas and electricity in a property is functioning safely, and that repairs to the exterior and structure of the property are safe. A gas safety check must be done every 12 months, and electrical equipment you provide must meet health and safety standards. Also, should you be providing furniture with the property, it must meet safety standards. Be sure to note that property law does differ between Scotland, England and Wales, so being a member of a professional body such as the Scottish Association of Landlords will keep you informed of changes to legislation and best practice to follow as a landlord. A complete list of basic landlord responsibilities can be found on the government website, and I'll provide a link in the post above to that. Number 4 is protect yourself, your home and your tenant. Start with a great landlord's insurance policy which will cover you should the worst happens. Now, the market is saturated with companies offering landlord's insurance, so it's important to know the quality of cover you'll get for your money. Providers offering comprehensive cover options such as nil excess, accidental damage, legal liability cover, malicious damage, unoccupancy cover and contents cover will ensure complete protection and peace of mind for you. It also helps to state in the initial stages of renting a property that you prefer tenants to have a valid liability insurance upon moving into the property. Although legally this cannot be mandatory, accepting a tenant with insurance in place prior to moving in means extra protection for your property and for your tenant. I've provided a link for insurance information in the post above. Protecting your tenant's deposit is also a must by law, and the landlords are responsible for ensuring that within 30 days of receiving deposit, you must ensure that it's protected safely in a government accredited scheme in order to legitimately issue the deposit protection certificate. And in the post above, I've provided a link to deposit scheme information. Tenancy agreements. Now, when it comes to potential rent arrears, it's crucial that you have a tenancy agreement which has been signed by both you, the landlord or your agent, and your prospective tenant. Your tenancy agreement is your way of keeping everything in one place and agreeing to all the terms with your tenant. Be sure to keep it safe and ensure it's signed by both parties with additional copies filed. Also, inventories, you can prepare your own inventory. However, if you use a letting agent, they will have someone experienced doing these, and it helps to keep the process impartial. Better still, you can instruct and make sure your letting agent instructs the independent inventory clerk. There is a cost for this service, however, remember they are both insured and qualified to conduct thorough inventories and inspections. Inspections themselves, now it will benefit you in the long run if you regularly visit your property and check the state it is in and ensure it is compliant with health and safety laws. The tenant will need to give you permission to enter, so ensure that you make clear in your tenancy agreement and agree notice you will need to give when you will be inspecting the property and the frequency of when your visits will be. Number 5 is research your rent charges. It goes without saying that you want to ensure a reasonable income from your property, but to do so you'll need to have thoroughly researched your rent charges to maintain transparency with your tenants. Charging rent that's too low could mean your income will suffer, but charging too high rent could deter tenants, meaning more chance of longer void periods. Researching your rent charges regularly is a great way to ensure you're charging what's appropriate for your property. You must be clear to your tenant how and when your rent should be paid, and this must be clarified in the tenancy agreement. It's important to keep yourself informed around best practice and procedures when conducting a rent review to ensure that the increase is fair to the tenant and you have mutually agreed this for any changes. In the post above, I've provided links to further information on the topics we've covered today, and also if you would like any further details from myself, please feel free to contact me via email or on my contact number. Also, feel free to subscribe, share and like this post. My name's Richard Cook, this is Fife Properties TV.